Should have gotten a Mac. Good Marc TV morning. I want to start this episode by letting you know that I really do like Dell. Dell computers. I love Dell, in fact. My very first laptop was a Dell way back in the day, and it came with Windows 95, which was like brand spanking new at the time. So here's the thing. Over the years, I've gone to Mac. My kids use Macs. The whole family, we're all Apple products, except for my wife, who is the one holdout. She still likes to use Windows. Now, the laptop I got her years ago, it's getting too old and too slow. It's got Windows 10 on it. Just destroyed the machine. Not so good. So I went and I got her a brand new, super fast Dell. So it arrives, got Windows 10 on it. Everything's great except for the fact that Windows 10 really sucks. And people who don't think it sucks, I'm going to assume they just don't know anything else that's out there. They've never worked on a Mac, or they've never even worked on Windows 7, which I think is still better. But this is awful. Now, I'm not blaming Dell for this. I'm blaming Microsoft. So, long story short, I'm sending this back, and I've convinced my wife to get a Mac. Yes. So, Dell makes it really easy to send back a computer. Okay, I've had this for about 2 weeks, used it just a few hours, sending it back. Now, here's the thing. Here's where things get a little messy. I have my invoice here. On the invoice is a phone number. So I phone Dell on the 1-800 number, and they ask me for my customer number, which I give them, and they have no record of who I am or that I've bought anything. So then I give them the order number, and again, they have no record of this purchase ever being made. So there's a problem. And the lady on the other end, who's really nice and being very courteous and very apologetic about the whole thing, the fact is she's still taken a huge amount of my time to try to figure out who I am and if I've ever bought a Dell product, which I have because I'm holding it right here. I know this, but she doesn't know this. Anyway, after many questions, she finally figures out that I'm from Canada. Canada. Yeah. Now, here's the really weird thing, is this number, which is on my invoice from Dell Canada, this phone number, is not for Dell Canada, it's for Dell USA. So the number on my Canadian invoice is for the US office. So I call the US office not knowing this, I go through all this crap, then I get transferred to the Canadian office, so I'm on hold for a while. Then this really nice sounding guy picks it up, again, asks me for my customer number, my order number, and he has no record of who I am or if I've bought anything. So this is getting really weird because I know they've billed me. So somebody's got my money for this computer. After a lot of questions, he realizes that this was not a corporate purchase, this was a personal purchase. So then he transfers me to the personal sales customer service department, whatever they call it. At which point, I give them the customer number and the order number, and guess what? They now know who I am. So throughout this whole ordeal, Dell was very nice, very apologetic, very courteous, and once they figured out who I was, processed the paperwork very quickly, and within a couple hours sent me a packing slip so I can put this bad boy back in the box and send it off to Dell. One thing that's really cool I just want to note is they offered me $50 to keep the laptop. So, you know, if you get yourself a Dell and you want to keep it, just call them up and tell them you don't want to keep it, and you may get offered some cash incentives to keep it. So, something to think about. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this story here is after about this whole thing took about half an hour. After about this half an hour adventure with Dell, I was feeling pretty crappy. I was feeling crappy about the company. I was like emotionally exhausted. I had work that I needed to do that I couldn't do because I'm on the phone with Dell. And as nice as they were, the truth is it didn't really matter. And I think this comes down to not so much a customer service thing, because the service was actually really nice. It's more of a whole customer experience thing. And I like to compare it to levels of energy. Okay, when you deal with a company and the company makes you feel good, your energy goes up. And when you deal with a company and things go wrong or they treat you like crap or whatever it is, energy can go down. Now, I'm of the belief that energy goes down way faster than it goes back up. So in the case of Dell, the half an hour that I spent dealing with 3 different people to try to figure out if I was someone who actually bought their product, over the course of that half an hour, my energy dropped a lot. And even though everyone was very nice and they finally got everything taken care of, that brought my energy up a bit, but just a bit. Now, when it comes to you and your business, or even when you're dealing with another business, have this awareness, and it's really interesting to think about this, is that you always want the customer's energy, if you're the customer or you're dealing with one of your customers, you want that energy to be ideally like this, or at the very least to go up, but you never want it to go down. And the trick, I believe, to keeping it from going down is to make the whole process as smooth as possible and to ask a lot of questions. And this is the problem that Dell did, is they didn't ask me any questions. They simply encountered a problem and they were trying to figure it out, but they never asked me anything. And I think in large part they didn't know to ask. So my advice to you would be to ask a ton of questions. If something's not going right, ask the client, what further details can they provide you to help with the situation? Everything from when did they buy the product? When did they buy the product? Is the product have the packaging? Do they have the manual? Do they have the bill? Or you may even want to direct those questions to somebody internal. All right, did somebody ship the product? Who shipped the product? When did the product ship? How did it ship? Whatever else, you need to know to solve the problem. But it really is about asking questions. And I'm of the belief that customers will give you a lot of slack if they feel that you are really interested, you have a vested interest in making sure that they're happy and in taking care of the situation. I think they'll be pretty easy on you. It's when a level of incompetence, I think, shows up, that they've just had enough, and that's when tempers start to flare and patience starts to go, and that energy level starts to drop, and then you end up with a really pissed off customer. And even when things might pan out in the end okay, well, I think at that point sometimes the damage is done. So just a little food for thought there. As for me, I got to send this back. And here's another word of advice for you. When you buy technology, if you're not sure you're in love with it, keep the box. It makes sending stuff back way easier. So once I send this back, I got to get my wife a Mac. So if you have any questions or comments about this episode, feel free to post them down below. I'll answer back because that's how it's done. And until next time, I'm Marc Gordon, and you've been watching Marc TV.